Good, good. Hello, everybody. So today we have a special lecture because who am I not to use the chance when my native English speaker has finally arrived to Warsaw. We're going to have a so-called interview, let's say. I'm going to ask my boyfriend, Ashley. He's here. He's behind the camera. You will not see him, but you will hear him for sure. I made sure he's mic'd. So I'm gonna ask him kind of tricky questions because, again, I know that you would appreciate all the answers from a native speaker, right? And if you have any questions, either during the lecture, we'll see if anybody's joining, or after, or whatever. Feel free to ask. We love questions. So I've got a couple, like a list of 20. I hope we'll be able to do that. So I've chosen like the kind of the most interesting, as a non-native speaker, the most interesting ones to ask. And yeah, I'll make sure Ashlichka will share some tips with us as well, right?
Yes, of course.
Good. And I really hope that the sound is good and I'm not going to be talking to just myself. Okay, so question number one. I think I'm going to like rotate to you a little bit, just talking, right? So where are you from?
Oklahoma.
Where is it?
It is central United States. It's north of Texas, east of Colorado.
Yeah, what is Oklahoma famous for? Because we all have stereotypes that like Texas is cowboys and cowgirls.
Okay, we're known for tornadoes, and that's about lots of oil and gas type industry, but most people associate Oklahoma with tornadoes.
Okay. But I mean, remember that mug that I bought in Oklahoma? There's like a bunch of stuff that was invented there.
Yeah, we've got the shopping cart is there. What are the where you pay to park? Paid parking.
Kiosk.
Yeah, those are
I know the
Oklahoma.
word now. It's kiosk. Parking kiosk.
Parking kiosks where you can thank Oklahoma for having to pay to park.
Thanks.
We've got famous people like country singers, actors, actresses, but mainly like Southern US people.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Just give me a sec. I will mute all upon entry and just a second. So next question. Let it be this one. What's the quickest way someone can trick you into thinking they're American? Is it just by how they talk?
Confidence in their talk. Like even when you and I first started speaking, I told you that I thought you were a Native American because you speak very direct and forward as opposed to fishing for words, looking for the words you're wanting to say. You were very calculated for a person that is not a non-native speaker. So just the way you approach a conversation, the confidence in your, like, because even in America, we've got, dialects and accents. So even an American can sound, or a non-native speaker can sound American, just part of the US that I'm not familiar with. Okay. So when I'm talking to you, I'm like, oh, she's Northeastern, maybe? Because there's an accent more than there is a disconnect in, talking. Like you spoke so well that it took a couple of conversations, and I told you, I was like, you're not from America, are you?
What tipped you off? Like
I think it was more so you asking me almost, or maybe me saying something that you recognize that you said incorrectly or you said different than I did. And you were like, hey, did you say it like this? And I was like,
Oh.
oh, yeah. And so it was just little things like that. I was like, she's asking me to help her with her language. Something tells me this may not be her language.
All right, that's a good
Yeah.
one. So it's not like
It's
that.
not, it's not even like you can be foreign and be fluent, and I could still be like, she may be American. Like she may be
Hmm.
from some remote place that have a different kind of accent in America. Like if you, because you knew the words, that's usually the big thing, is like,
Mm.
as opposed to you fishing for it, how you say, that's like one of the key foreign phrases that we like stereotypically listen for. How you say, how do you say, like, you never did that. You never questioned words until you heard one that I said that you were like, I say that different. So
Okay.
it was you that made me go, why is she asking me how to say things?
Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. It's actually it reminded me, I don't know if I told you about the situation. It reminded me about, so when I go to Starbucks, just because they tend to misspell my name in like severely, I just say that my name is Ashley and I'm from the States. So they wouldn't ask me more questions. So there were a couple of ladies who just entered. They were American and they complimented my dog. And I replied, and probably they kind of picked up my accent. I'm like, oh, where are you from? And I'm like, the United States. Americans don't answer it like that. And I was like,
That's
shit,
true.
shit.
Yeah, that's
Where?
right.
Oh, and I saw like their react. I'm like, Oklahoma, Oklahoma. That's where I'm from. Oh wow, that's so wow. And we started speaking, and
Yeah.
they thought I was American.
Yeah. And if you're not from Oklahoma or from that area that you say you're from, it's hard pressed for an American, as the melting pot that America is now, that who am I to say you're not from Oklahoma? Like
Hmm.
I'm like, I hear something, but I'm like, I don't know, maybe she moved here early in her life. Like,
That kind of proves the point that if you say that you come from not a very touristy place,
yes.
you will definitely,
Well, because you're not interacting with people on a day-to-day basis. You're hearing your own dialect, your own dialogue, your own accent every
or like
day.
maybe
So,
from bigger places, like
yeah. Yeah.
very, very,
Very
very,
big.
yeah.
Yeah. New York City, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. All right, next one. Let's talk about, so since we started talking a little bit about different accents and regions, is there is there any regional accent you find hard to understand even as a native speaker?
Yeah. Well, anytime I go to New York and I hear Bronx, like the Brooklyn accent, I mean, you know, if you watch the Jersey Shore shows like that, those are very indicative of a of, of English words that I'm like, what did they just say?
Mhm.
Like, and it could be, if it weren't subtitled at the bottom, I'd be like, that's a different language. It's a totally different way of speaking. And it's so much so that it's, I mean, people, Brooklyn accents is a real thing. Like, and I think it's only indicative of people in that you brought up there, you talk like that, and then you go out into like New York City, or and you hear that and you're just,
Mhm.
I'm floored every time I hear a Brooklyn accent, and I'm thinking, those, we say the same things and it sounds totally different.
Okay, I've got a question then. So when it comes to you encountering accents that you actually find difficult to understand,
Mhm.
how do you then? Like, do you do like we do? Because for non-native speakers, it's probably just, of course, like practice makes perfect
Yeah.
and stuff. Like the more you listen, the more you understand. Like, what is this initial step you take? Like, do you literally like
You
lip read?
focus, yeah, because you're taking into account the conversation. So a lot of it is kind of passively interpretation of what I think would go along with this conversation in this
Okay.
setting. Like,
Oh, like
I
what
have,
would I say here?
yeah, like you, like say we're talking about sandwiches or something, and I'm like, I think he's talking about peanut butter and jelly.
Okay.
So peanut butter and jelly is what I'm going to stick in my head. And every time he says weird words, I'm going to be like, that's a reference to peanut butter and jelly, so that I can have the conversation with me. And as long as the individual I'm having the conversation with isn't like, what are you talking about? We're having a conversation, even though it's probably like a foreigner having a conversation with a native speaker, where you're just kind of picking up bits and pieces. You're not picking up every single word of the dialogue, but you're just, okay, we talked about a city, bread, peanut butter, jelly. Okay. I think we're talking about having a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in the city. So you just kind of go with that. And as long as there's, back and forth, we're going somewhere, but there's a lot of just passive interpretive. I think he's saying this.
Does this is it also applied? Can we also apply it to, for example, if we're talking about a very difficult British accents, like
Yes. Well, because that's English. So even when we hear that, because I'm having that conversation with people that, going to the UK would be probably the easiest transition for an American, a US native speaker, because a lot of the things are similar, but in the same regard, that's a very dangerous thing to think, because a lot of the words may sound similar but have totally different connotations and meanings. So it's a slippery slope when you start thinking, okay, I think I know what this individual's saying. So you do have to have some cautionary, let's make sure we're having a good conversation, as opposed to, I don't want to start a hate crime. Like, I don't know. We've got slang in America that could easily be offensive somewhere else. And if you're not educated or at least familiar with slang terms and the do's and do nots of it, you could start a hate crime. And I mean, that's the world we kind of live in with talking. Talking starts so many fights. It also squashes them too, but miscommunication, misinterpretation could lead to undesired intentions. And so I think we always need to talk. We need to continue to bridge those gaps of communication, but don't think as a non-native speaker, you know what you're saying. Like if you and I are talking, I'm not going to assume every time you say something, I know exactly what you mean behind it. We've had conversations where I'm like, I think we missed something in translation. And we talk about it and I'm like, okay, that's where we missed it. And usually it's a word that phonetically may look like this, but I say it like that. And we've had conversations about words that I say wrong in my native language. Like,
oh, that's not true.
no, it is, because you have brought up words that I'm like, I think I say that wrong.
It's impossible.
No, we've had them, maybe, like where you say something, I'm like, oh my God, have I been saying that wrong my whole life? How am I supposed to teach anybody anything when the person I'm teaching is like, you said that wrong? So talking about talking is paramount. I don't even know what the question was, but
it was about Brits, but anyway.
Oh, Brits, yeah.
Thank you. The other thing is, so in the same vein, the question is, when you're talking to a person who has a really thick accent, like, many of us may have, how do native speakers usually feel when talking to such person? Because I've been working, I've told you like thousands of times, I've been working with HRs, and they all proved the point that when we choose those who look better, who sound better, because these people feel like safer probably, and it's easier with them than just like putting more effort into understanding the one who has thicker accent.
Yeah.
How do native speakers feel when there is one with a really thick accent?
It can be intimidating, because especially if the non-native speaker is inquiring, inquisitive, asking something, because as the native speaker, you don't want to send them off astray on the wrong, like, it can be intimidating to have a thick accent person come to you and ask you something. talking is a different thing because at least there we can slowly progress into like, where are you from? Help me out here. I don't understand very well, but the only part that for me that I get anxious and kind of intimidated about is when a non-native thick accent individual is asking for directions, for
Mm-hmm.
instance. And I'm like, oh God, why did you do this to me?
So what is this feeling? What is it?
It's I hope I can convey because I know where this individual is needing to go.
Okay.
So I'm like, and you almost don't want to be offensive either. Like I don't want to speak louder or I'm going to slow down. It's not about like either you understand me or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the times like conversational English, you can tell an individual understands it better than they can speak it. That's intimidating because they understand you. And I'm like, but I want you to make a left at that street. Do you understand that? Yeah. And you know, they respond and you're like, I think I'm just going to walk you. Let's just walk you there. I want to make sure you make it to work. So it's intimidating in the fact that when a thick accent individual is just wanting to conversate, that's exciting. But when you ask me a question, I'm like, now there's expectations that I A, don't want to lead you astray, and B, please understand where I'm trying to send you because I don't want you to make a wrong turn and end up somewhere you're not supposed to.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay. So it's not about feeling like, oh, ew,
no,
I'm not gonna.
I don't know. The only people that don't want to interact with non-native speakers are people you don't want to interact with, period.
Okay.
You know, the Karens of the world, they don't have anything good to interject with anyway. But non-native speakers talking to native speakers, I'm like, I love that you wanted to. Like, and I've told you that everywhere I've went, when people find out I'm American, people want to try their English out on me. Like I want to say some things. I'm like, okay, cool. And
Mhm.
that's exciting for me because I mean, communication is what's going to bridge a lot of things. And so I love when non-native speakers want to talk to us, like want and we should and I hate for any non-native speaker that's ever ran into or I can't understand what you're saying. I'm sorry. No, no. We can through broken English or bad thick accents or whatever it may be, we can communicate. I promise you. Even with modern technology, and I never want to bring out my phone to be like to interpret this. I want to think that just in us walking through where we walk through and the trips we take, people find a way to find commonality to communicate on simple terms. We're not having dissertations about curing cancer. We're having conversations. And I just feel like the more we just try, the better off we'll be. So
Hmm.
I'm never intimidated about a non native speaker speaking to me until they ask me a question.
Okay.
No.
I got it. That's interesting. That's interesting. So does that mean that it kind of makes you feel good or somewhat privileged when non-natives try to work on their accents?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, not on my behalf or anything, but when like when you correct a word that you hear me say and you're like, "Oh, I've been saying that wrong." I'm like, "Oh, that's cute." Like, these are little idiosyncrasies that I would never even pick up on, but you're constantly listening. Like you're constantly listening to me and just words. And so I I love that the eagerness to make sure you're trying to do it right, even though there's no wrong way. Like I've told you, like you can talk to a Southern Texan that says the same word I say, and it sounds totally different. Then you can go north and hear that same word, totally different. So saying anybody says anything right or wrong is kind of faux pas in today's society. So the more we just try to communicate and talk, the better off we'll be.
Mm-hmm. That's actually like sometimes in my accent reduction classes or like courses and stuff, um, when there's I'm at that point when I'm like, there is literally no right and wrong.
Mm.
I'm trying to kind of to lean towards probably like the mixture of a couple of accents that kind of make something like standard, but there's no standard American accent. There is no such thing. But
No.
whenever like we're talking about things being right or wrong, I always like to say, because again, I'm into how, you know, like how English works and how accent works in real life,
Yeah.
but not like how it's just, I don't know, presented by books or something. It is not even presented by books. Let's be real. But I always kind of try to provide variation
Yeah.
because again, I am observant and I watch a lot and I consume a lot of content and stuff. And I do observe, like even like watching. Remember what me watching Grey's Anatomy?
Mhm.
There's so much
A lot of
stuff.
questions that you had from that.
A lot.
Mhm.
Why? All of them are American. Why this one says
Yep.
this and the other one says that?
Yep. And then you start talking about the dynamics of like Bailey. She's from East, and then you got Seattle Grace. You got people that live in the Northeast, Northwestern world. Like Oregon to Washington, D.C. are, it's literally country to country. Like
Mhm.
we talk totally different and everywhere in between. And
Mhm.
there's a certain sense of correctness to each of them. Like even the Southern drawl and saying y'all, which we know is not an appropriate word, you'll find people that'll fight you to the death that y'all is more than accepted. It's in the dictionary now. No, well, it's in the dictionary, but we got it there. It's not a word. Y'all is not a word.
I love y'all.
We all do. Like
Y'all.
it's transcendent.
Wow.
So, but in the same regard, not a word. We've conned Webster and dictionaries to be like, well, we use it enough that we're going to add it to our
Mhm.
lexicon. But you fight hard enough to make a word a part of your daily life, you can get it to be formalized, but it wasn't a word.
But still, it feels like, see, just because you guys can't, for example, we're talking about, for example, the word anyway and anyways.
Mhm.
Anyways is not correct grammatically. Not. It's not. But I cannot say that it's wrong to use it. I can't, because you guys do a lot.
Uh-huh.
And probably this is like already an accepted form of this word.
Possibly. I mean, you're going to have scholars that say no, that is
Yes.
not an appropriate
But again,
use. Yeah.
does that mean that you will not hear it in the States?
No.
You will. That
Yes.
here's the thing. You can use anyway, you can use anyways.
And depending on the people you're with, anyways, may not ever even be brought up as, you're using that wrong, right? Like
Mhm.
nobody, it's used so much incorrectly that it's accepted as correct.
Exactly.
See,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Even though when you break it down,
Mm-hmm.
it's incorrect usage, but at the same time.
I think that's a never ending fight between accuracy and what? And the common usage?
Usage, yeah. Yeah. And where does that even, like, where do we break from appropriate usage?
It's like if somebody like I like pointing it out from the perspective of non-native speakers in their mother tongues. Like, what if somebody asks you, "Oh, you've said that,
Mhm.
but that's not really correct,"
Right.
or like the if sentence.
Uh-huh.
We don't say if and
Right.
will. We learn in textbooks that if and will do not work. It does work. There are cases.
Yes.
So, like, and you will answer that question like, just because we say so. And this
Correct.
would be my answer.
Correct.
Just because we use it so.
Correct.
Who
Because you're
cares
not
if it's
going,
not-
well, because what a non-native speaker would come into the situation, like the non-native speaker almost expects to be speaking to an English scholar, like somebody
Yeah.
that knows the phoneticism of everything and structure. Man, we learned that in second grade, third grade. We're talking 30 years of like holding on to retention things over something that is, the English language is not a passive learn, but you're talking to people daily. That's the way you're going to talk. You're going to learn a structure. You're going to learn math. 2 plus 2 is 4, but you're going to use a calculator once you're done with the classes.
That's
so
a good example.
we're
Yeah.
always looking for, it's not even a shortcut. It's, this is how we were taught. This is how we do.
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
and where did we break from? Where's the deviation? That's probably a whole other conversation.
That's like every time that kind of thing happens, and I also like teaching that, because like non-native speakers, when we learn a language, when we learn English, like we stick to very, very limited structures, like if, present simple, comma, will, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
If you go, you will, or like blah blah blah. But well, like the higher your level is, the more flexibility to structures you learn. So like you're kind of unlearning
True.
all that very limited accuracy and bringing up a bit more,
Broadening. Yeah.
yeah, a bit
Quite a bit.
more daily lifeness or commonness
Yeah. That's good.
or sometimes incorrectness, but just because native speakers use it this way.
Uh-huh. And again, you're saying incorrect. You talk to those native speakers and be like, I didn't say anything wrong. What
Uh-huh.
y'all talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. In the same vein, when we are talking about, like, I brought up the example of anyway and anyways.
Mhm.
What about things like often and often? I've asked you today.
Yeah.
So I've heard like Grey's Anatomy, often and often.
Mhm.
My observation was, and I think I've told you before, that often you guys say often when it's somewhere in the middle of the sentence, and often if you put it at the end. Like, I don't do that quite often. This is what I hear.
Yeah.
I
And
also
I
don't
hear that too. And I think you're absolutely correct but we say it so passively that unless I'm focused on that word, it's just fluidly going to go often and
know.
often. Like, but at the same time, I know for a fact I use both.
Okay, so
I
it's
know-
not like we are taught at schools
No,
that often is American and
No.
often is British.
no,
don't
I
even
think you're
know.
absolutely correct that when it is an emphasis in the sentence as opposed to in the middle, if it's often in the big, often I go and wander, or I go and wander often. But if it's in the middle, when it's insignificant, like that T is not important to me. The
Mhm.
T is not important to a lot of words in the middle of the sentence. Like we could probably study that one. But
Soften.
yeah, soften and often. So I'm just saying, like, when it's not the emphasis, if it's not a bookend, that T is lazy.
What about either and either?
That's
Again,
we've
Grey's
discussed
Anatomy,
this one.
we have. I need to make sure people
And I
understand.
say that I exclusively say either.
Mhm.
And then I can almost think of a time that I'm like, but either one of them,
Either of the option.
either one would work. See, I that's the first time I've used either in 2025, but it's appropriate. It's how I would have said it had we not been talking about it. And I sure as crap wouldn't have said often. I would not have, it's the hard, it's so weird.
But I understand that it's also very hard to catch it in your speech
We would,
for a native
until we
speaker.
talk about it,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have, I'm like, oh.
Because this is what we do. You don't, we do. And that would be like if you learn Ukrainian or German, this is going to be your role
true.
and not mine.
And I would almost say that, like, as a non-native speaker, understand that the person you're talking to is going to foul it up as much as you do. You're not talking to a scholar. Most of the people you talk to will not know the appropriate structure of a sentence. Like, and that's not even demeaning Americans or anything. That's something we learned
And we forgot.
and we talk.
Yeah.
And as long as you're not going, are you speaking English? Like, no, as long as we're holding a conversation, we don't even care about your level of education. Like, you can talk to somebody and be like, I don't think this person graduated high school. Like, we can have these conversations, and it's not like a diminutive thing. It's more of, I wouldn't use those words.
This is exactly like see, I don't want to like defend anyone, but in this kind of case, I think about, because we also go through the same like journey and path. We learn this language at school, and we sometimes, like, I don't even remember a lot of stuff from school.
Right.
I don't remember so much, but we somehow use this language. And like, why would we say that? Yeah, I understand that English is one of the, I don't know, one of the most popular languages to learn, and like not a lot of people, I mean, native speakers, non-native speakers prevail much more than the number of non-native speakers prevails.
Agreed.
But what I'm trying to say is, in many cases, it's kind of it's sad, or people say that like, oh, Americans are stupid. They use grammatically incorrect language, but we all do.
Right.
We all do this to our mother tongues.
We do.
If you ask me a rule about my mother tongue, no.
Right.
I will tell you, just because we speak so.
Correct. And that's why I'm saying don't ever walk into a conversation thinking you're meeting a Harvard PhD that is an English lit scholar. That's not any of us. Like that's the 1%.
Yep.
We are all fallible and we don't realize it. We say things daily that we think are grammatically correct, even though we learned it second grade, third grade. We've moved so far from it, and it's part of our daily lexicon so much that the people we talk to say it like this. The people I'm around say it like this. We don't even think about the appropriateness anymore. It's about, this is just us conversating. And it's unique to, it could be city where you live. You got inside city, dialogue, slangs, idiosyncrasies, and then it goes broad and beyond that. You got Southern drawl. Now, where's the Southern at? Well, that's anywhere below Kentucky. Where does the South begin? Where does North begin? So you keep just breaking up all these different dialogues, and they're all wrong to a certain degree, but they're all correct.
See? Yeah. So, that's how it works. And I love it actually, because
I've told you, like, just our conversations, I think, they're indicative of what's wrong with a lot of the world. Not to get too dramatic, but we just talk and we figure out the miscommunication things and where there's lost in translation type things, or when you hear a word that I say and well, what was that? And say that again. Like, I just feel like a lot of us just feel apprehensive to be wrong. You just need to know we're all wrong. Like all of the native speakers, you're going, and when you walk in and you hear them say something wrong, it's up to you to call them out on it. Just know that they don't realize it. Like we don't realize.
Have I told you a story about one of my colleagues who, I think like she relocated to the States, I think like about 5 years ago, and she had her C1 advanced level of English proved. Like she took an exam and stuff, and she got a certificate, and she was like, I'm going to the States. I want C2 proficiency, the last level of English. Like it's freaking gods of English. And she was like, I'm gonna relocate to the States, and that's where I'm gonna improve my English and stuff. 6 months in, she speaks like an intermediate. She got
So she regressed by talking to natives. Is that what you're saying?
In her
proficiency.
Yes, because in daily conversations, you're not using those literary words that you can see, I don't know, in Stephen King's or Lovecraft's books. No, you don't. Maybe like her grammar, like writing skills, they were fine. But like spoken English, yes, it does. It does kind of regress.
I love that.
And that's not bad. That's what happens.
Because what you described to me is an individual that can better communicate with their surroundings phonetically or with dialogue, but yet they regressed as far as the proficiency of the language. That's every single native speaker.
Yeah.
Like none of us even truly know where we, like, I know y'all and things of that nature. There's certain things that I do that I'm like, that's a bad habit, but I can't break it. Whereas there's other things that I do that I know are wrong. That I'm like, until somebody brings it up, I'd be like, I had no idea.
One of the eye-opening experiences like this was when I was working in China, and we had oh gosh, what was his name? I forgot his name. It was a guy from London, and I remember he was teaching his teenagers about. So it was a grammar class, and he just came up to me and said, "Could you remind me what the difference is?" And he shows me past simple and past continuous tense,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, "Are you kidding me right now?" This is what you learn when you're an elementary English student. And
Yeah.
he's like, I just forgot. And I'm like,
We-
one is I did, and the other one is I was doing.
Oh wow.
No,
Retention is hard sometimes.
yeah, and
And we
that's when I was like, oh, it's not like, oh, they're stupid. No,
no.
it's kind of changed something in my head. Like,
Well, and
native
I've heard you
speakers,
say more than not, like I can't think of the word in any of the languages. Like that's not even
that's
something I have, and I forget all the times in the one I know. So it's almost amazing to see you kind of not accept. I don't know. Like your understanding, I think you're just going to be an amazing teacher because you understand there is a formality to it. There is a proficiency to it. You can get your C2, that you said, but then you also understand there's a human element behind it where we all talk like we talk, and there's incorrectness, and there's points where you're like, is this person even educated at all? But yeah, we just, in a lot of regards, we get lazy, but in a lot of times it's just you are surrounded by people who I guess are lazy or whatever you've become. It's just what's natural to you. And if you want to fixate on it and improve upon it, you almost have to put yourself in a situation where I need to move. I need to be surrounded by people that are like, hey, quit saying y'all.
Mhm,
Or, you shouldn't talk like that.
mhm.
We always say often here. Like, so, and I don't think it'll ever be like that because I think people love unique, period. Like, and there is no way that I would ever even conjure to tell another person that's wrong. Even like, the memes about croissant. Like, I see a lot of people talk about the mispronunciation of non-native people saying croissant. Shut up. You know, we're American. We hear it. We want to say croissant. And if somebody French or otherwise says it's not like that, shut up. It's our opportunity. You have your dialogue and dialect. We're going to botch ours too. So croissant is always going to be one of those things that native English American speakers are going to. We love that freaking word.
Yes, you do.
We do. So,
Croissant.
yeah. Hello.
All right.
Ugh.
Next one. So you kind of touched upon
Touched on it. Touched upon it.
upon the topic. So, um, does it sound weird? How does it sound? Like, describe it to me. When someone speaks too perfectly, like a textbook. For
Um,
example, I remember one of my first experiences, like talking to native speakers, was I remember I think I was saying things like should have done.
hmm,
You know what I
okay,
mean?
yeah.
And that I think now it actually might sound even rude
Hmm.
because I don't know, you're trying maybe to just kind of articulate
Yeah,
every word,
the
and you're kind of
articulation aspect is
assuming like the person is either, I don't know, in trouble or like slow, or you know what I mean? So
yeah.
something of a kind. So how does it feel to hear someone speaking too perfectly, scholarly perfectly?
Um, it depends. I will say it has to depend on the environment. If you're in a scholarly environment, if I'm hearing a professor speak on,
We're not talking about this.
okay, but that's the only setting I would feel. Any other setting that an individual is articulating every word and enunciating and that's intimidating. That's almost like I don't even want to jockey with this conversation. Like I feel like I feel being judged. Like I can't hold this conversation with you. And you've known me long enough. I have a pretty good dictionary of words. I speak pretty well. So, but I've been in conversations where I feel either the individual is trying so hard to out talk me
Okay.
that I'm just like, this isn't,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here
They're
to,
uncomfortable.
no, I'm not, there is a level of discomfort to the point to where I'm trying to understand, do you got a thing against me, or is this your thing? And if this is your thing, why is it your, like, I don't, nobody, I would probably miss the entire conversation because I'd be floored by the fact that this person's enunciating every single word I'm just like, nobody talks like that.
But if it's a non-native speaker and you understand that this is
Oh,
a non-native speaker.
that's different. That's the non-native speaker showing you what they learned. And of course you have learned enunciation because you learned from a robot, most likely, to a degree. Even if you learn from a person, that individual is going to go the extreme to say, I said this on this day and on this date. You should be like, that's how you learned.
Yeah.
And so you have to recognize the non-native aspect in that. Otherwise it would be an odd conversation. Like, if you're not picking up that this is just how they learned, that would be an odd conversation. But if it's not a formal setting and it's a non-native individual, you as the person listening to them should know, like, this is just how when we were in second grade, this is how we were taught.
Yeah.
Something tells me this is how they were taught recently. So you learned your native tongue and now you're learning another one. Like, I always love when I hear a non-native person trying their best to talk. I love it. And I'm like, if anybody tries to discourage that, they're wrong. Let them try. Let them mess it up. Don't correct it. Have some couth in it and let them try. If they're asking you to be like, am I saying this wrong? Answer, talk to them. But no, the more I hear people just try to botch the language as much as they want to, that's progress as opposed to regression, where we're going to just revert to texting one another and, can you translate this for me? No, we can talk.
Interesting.
This is fun.
I've got a couple more. I
Okay.
don't want to make it super long ass podcast. So, if someone wants to sound American fast, what should they stop doing right now?
What should they stop doing right now? Probably learning from any type of formal instruction. Like, I love what you say is, like, you work on accent reduction. I think that's how people should go into learning. I'm going to say English, or American English in this case, because none of us are perfect at it and we all learned somewhat similarly. So I think if you just learn to reduce the accent, that'll get you a lot further than learning the appropriate structure of a sentence or learning the appropriate way to say these things, because a lot of appropriate pronunciations are not practice. And that's US wide. Like, there's, from east to west, there's just those uniqueness and nuances to our own language as locally as where you live, the house you grow up in, how you're taught from your parents to say certain things. So The best thing for as far as how I see it, if you're learning appropriate structure and how to appropriately say things, stop. Go learn how to conversational English. That's probably the big one. And all conversational English is a brief understanding of how to say the word and with some kind of accent. And the reduction of the accent is what you need to learn. Like not how to appropriately from a dictionary, this is the pronunciation key, because nobody's looking in a dictionary to learn how to say certain words. We just say it how we see it or hear it and feel it in a lot of cases. So I would say if you're learning formally how to say things, stop. Because we don't formally say things. We don't, I think it's even kind of worldly that Americans, we like to screw a lot of things up. We love to stick our nose into other people's business and
a bit.
So, and with that, stick a nose in other people's businesses, we have this arrogance that we're helping y'all. You know, like that's a bad place to be.
It is.
We feel like we are the world mediator. And it annoys the absolute shit out of me because we screw up a lot. We have, since 1776, we have a long history of, with the best intentions, messing some stuff up. So understand that if we are that fallible in our lives, our dialogue is just as fallible. So just come and talk to us. Don't worry about formalities. Let's just talk.
So like the conclusion from this is come talk to us. We feel privileged. Our ego is straight.
Ego. Sorry.
Ego. Our ego is.
It's squarely on. We're good. No.
And like, okay. No, I mean, it's not like we don't feel good when other people try to, like, I think everybody feels better or like cute or like, I don't know, they feel some sort of pleasure when somebody tries to learn the language. And I kind of get it. It's cute. It's like, oh, you're trying.
Yeah.
So I get it. Ego.
Ego.
One more thing. So last one, probably. If you had to teach someone how to sound American in 1 week, not only like accent wise, but for example, some expressions wise or slang wise, what are 3 sounds, 3 words, 3 expressions, 3 idioms would you focus on?
Oh, 3.
Yep.
That's a tough one. I don't know if I can answer that. Because I don't even pick up on the idioms until we talk about them a lot of times.
True.
Like, oh,
true.
I don't know. That's more of a question for what have I said to you that like have been impactful, because I just talked to you.
I agree.
It's not until you bring up like the idioms thing, like that was polarizing for me, because I might have to just state that I know what an idiom is now because of us talking about them. And I understand how important idioms are because I didn't know they were an idiom. You know, I would have thought these are just so common. And I'm like, you don't know that reference. Wow. So as far as idioms go, I didn't know until you. So I can't answer that.
I get it.
I would say all of them.
Okay.
I really would. If you hear an idiom, if there's a list of idioms, I'd learn them, because Americans speak almost exclusively in idioms sometimes.
Okay, then another question. How to understand what what language item in American English is um an outdated one
It's a good one.
and the one that is kind of used? Like how, for example, if I don't have
That's a good one.
American friends, or like I don't talk to native speakers, how do I understand what is used, what is not, what is, you know,
Um,
how do you understand what is outdated? How does that work for you?
it's a lot of just what's on the radio, what's on TV, what's because I mean, most of my talking is to you. So, um, it's social media. It's
Okay.
trying to just keep up with for me as not a young human, um, you have to keep up with what's on social media. You have to scroll, you have to it's even in from like popular news. You learn a lot from just what our news outlets talking about, not so much politically or anti or anything of that nature, just keeping a pulse of what's happening holistically and in the US centrally, but you learn a lot just from scrolling, especially now. As far as outdatedness, if you're not on some form of social media that you can death scroll, you that's how I learn now. Like even from current slang, current idioms, what are my children talking about? What is this acronym? There's WTF not too long ago was not what it is now, but yet that's it's synonymous. But the world's language is constantly evolving. So if you choose to not stay abreast of anything, you could easily stay outdated. But I mean, if it's not Instagram and there's times that I'm scrolling, I'm like, what does that mean?
Hmm.
What is that? And you have to kind of research it, learn it,
Mhm.
understand it. Like there's a lot of things in the mobility world where that's a language in and of itself. Texting is a language in and of itself. So,
Does that mean that English in books, like, I don't know, written English, like books in English, does that mean that that language is outdated?
probably, yeah, absolutely.
There is a
I mean,
common.
Shakespearean, like, see,
Oh
but I'm just
gosh.
saying that was a language of a time and
Hmm.
people spoke oddly like that, but that's period time. So people reading Shakespearean type things now, they're like, well, this is a different language. Well, that's actually, that's a verbiage of how they talked. And now I was worried that we were going into the form of grunts and just like we weren't talking anymore. And COVID didn't help that. But I kind of feel like there's this eagerness to talk now. I think there's a hunger for external dialogue and not in the form of a handheld thing. Like I think people are wanting to talk more.
I'm not entirely sure about
Okay,
that, to be honest,
that's fair.
because I think COVID brought a lot of maybe not even yeah,
No,
like the
it's
shift
COVID.
happened starting from COVID.
2020
Yeah,
is a
but I think people like it brought new ethics, like you don't call, you text.
that's a good one. You don't shake hands anymore. Fist bump.
Uh,
There's a lot of things. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, like you don't answer the call if it's an unknown number, or even if it's a known number, they can text.
Yeah.
You text
Yeah.
instead of talking.
Well, and there's going to be a society of people raised in post-COVID.
AI ChatGPT Premium. It's a
Yeah.
freaking boyfriend in
You're
your
right.
phone.
These so if we're not careful, we could easily turn into cavemen and grunts, and that's
Right.
not a joke. So
Correct.
I like that. Like even in this stuff, like there's a there's a clear hunger to at least perfect the way a person talks. Like they want to talk better in English or whatever the case may be. So there's an eagerness. Now we just kind of have to just let that blossom, for lack of better terms, because we need to talk more. We need to go pre-COVID, and
I don't think we're gonna go there.
well, because a lot of people are comfortable. I'm comfortable. I'm
Same.
very comfortable in the society in which we live in, but at the same time, I don't want to lose the beauty of dialogue, connection. Books like Kindle's scared me. Like Kindle's death. I love pages. I
You
love.
are not the only person who says that.
So
like, I loathe it.
loathes it because I
Okay.
do own a Kindle, and I do love the portability of it. But
I don't know.
I love the smell of old books. I love
Uh-huh.
turning the pages. I love that sound. And I mean,
Yep.
bookmarks. It's
Yep.
something silly and cheesy, but I love a good bookmark.
Yep.
So if we don't stay aware of the importance of just learning English language, we will turn into cave people. And I don't want that to be. So I'm always on, let's stay on this side of talking. Say it as wrong as you need to or want to or do. I'm not here to correct it, because who's to say I'm right? But I'm here to talk.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel they have the right to correct.
I approach correctness with my girlfriend, who is a non-native speaker. I kind of let the conversation lead itself. There's times you say something wrong and I'm like, there's no point in fixing it. We're past it. She may say it again later on. It wasn't big. I'm serious. But there's other times, like ego. Like you're on camera and we're talking about this. I'm like, yeah, I need to fix that. It's ego. So there's times where I just don't feel it's even appropriate as that I made. No, but you said that completely wrong. Says who?
Okay.
I understood what you said, so much so that I knew that you said it wrong. Why do I need to fix it? We're having a conversation. And then there's times where you correct someone and it kills the conversation.
Yes.
I don't ever want to do that.
When we teachers, we actually learn how to correct properly, because a lot of it is psychological and people already come with a lot of, like, they're vulnerable enough.
Yes.
And that's why, like, when I have first classes with people, like in our first class, I always ask a question like, look, there is a couple of ways I will correct you. Please choose the one that works for you. Right away, after a chunk of exercises, at the end of the class. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it's important. It's important. So I don't have any other questions. Any
just talk.
word?
If I would not have met the person of my dreams had I not went out on a limb and just tried to communicate with somebody. That was totally outside my character. I don't slide into DMs. So just taking the opportunity to talk to someone can lead to some pretty amazing results. And there's never a opportunity to communicate that ended poorly because you didn't say anything at all. You got to talk. I promise you'll get the result you want, even if it's not necessarily in the desired fact. Like, it takes time to learn a language, and we screw it up all the time. So don't ever feel intimidated or apprehensive. And it's easier said than done, I know, but I'm not here to correct you. I'm here to talk. That's it.
Thank you.
That was good.
That's all. I hope you enjoyed it. So yeah, have fun. And we're gonna go eat. I love you.
I love you.
Thank you,
baby.
baby.
Yeah.